What is going on? Happy Thursday evening. It is the UDDA Winner podcast. I am Dan Black. Joined with me as always is SportyJordy, and we have another special guest tonight. James, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Yeah, very well.
Well, we are now into Wild Card Week. Finally done the regular season of the NFL. Obviously, a ton to touch on. Also going to get into some NBA stuff and even some MLB conversations to go over because guess what? In a month, there's supposed to be pictures and catchers, and
supposed to be.
Who knows if that'll happen? But we're going to jump right into things as we always do with the NFL, given that it is Wild Card Weekend. First, let's recap our week last week. Jordy, you and I were terrible.
It was so bad. I picked the two games that were on the fence. I picked Ravens and Chargers, and Steelers and Raiders won. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm pretty sure, did you or me take the Colts? Or did we both take the Colts?
I think we might have both. I had to look at it again. I think we both did because I didn't believe that there was any way that they would lose to the Jaguars. So yeah, you for the regular season though did 3 games better than I did. 32-17-1, and I was 29-21.
That was a very good comeback from you, Dan.
Yeah, it was a valiant effort, but not to be. But speaking of those Colts, let's get into our losers and winners, starting with those losers that are the Colts. A win-and-in situation for the playoffs. And Carson Wentz absolutely bungles it.
Yeah. No, it was, but at the same time, it was brutal to watch, but it was kind of also spectacular. I kind of enjoyed everything about it just because all week it was this stat was floating around wow, the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014. And everyone's like, yeah, but these are the Colts and they've been a very solid team all season. The Jags have been absolutely god awful. So it's there's no way that this stat is going to hold true. And for some reason, in the sunny state of Florida, Jacksonville, the Colts just can't get it done. The Carson Wentz looked terrible. And now you're at the point where Adam Schefter reported today that the Colts GM was like, we're not going to make a comment on who's going to be here and who's not going to be here next year. So now Carson Wentz might have just lost his job. And it's just kind of, as an Eagles fan, I think Dan and I, we can feel great about it. Because the Colts ended 9-8, missed the playoffs. They lost their first-round pick to get Carson Wentz. Eagles are sitting here 9-8 in the playoffs with 3 first-round picks. So it does make me feel a lot better about our situation, but I do feel bad for Carson Wentz because that was just brutal.
Yeah. James, what do you think about that debacle in Jacksonville?
Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. Jordy kind of touched up on it with the whole Colts not winning in Jacksonville in forever. And I was kind of thinking this could happen. But I also realized that out of the 3 games that the Jags have won, they were all against teams with winning records, even though they beat the Dolphins when they were in 1-7 or whatever in London. That was at their lower point in the season, but they still finished 9-8. And then you had they beat the Bills, obviously. And that was probably the worst game in the entire NFL season, in my unbiased opinion. And the Bills are division champs of the AFC East. And then they beat the Colts, who could have snuck in with an easy win. And even though they finished 9-8 and missed the playoffs, that's still a winning record. So the Jags have played some spoiler this year. So I wouldn't say that I knew Jacksonville was going to win. I definitely had the Colts, but it wouldn't have surprised me if the Jags were able to pull that out, and they definitely did. So I just kind of looked and I laughed a little. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then obviously, you have the Steelers fans that are all excited about that. And then the whole, I'm sure we'll get into it later, but then you knew what happened that night that got them in, and it was just everything that needed to go right for them went right. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
Me and Dan all last week, going off of what you were saying, on our show last week, we were like, we're all over. I think the spread was 15.5 for the Jags. And we were like, who wouldn't take that? 1, this is a divisional game. 2, the Colts have this terrible record in Jacksonville. So I think we were all on that page where the Colts should win. We all kind of thought they would win, but we had this secret hope and secret understanding that the Jags could pull out what they did. So wild.
Yeah. No, that was like, and the fact that they not only beat the Colts, but they still got
slaughtered the
pick.
Colts.
No, well, but they also still retain the first overall pick, which is like a double whammy for them, but a positive double whammy. That they can have everyone mock the Colts and may never see Carson Wentz play in their division again, and they get the first pick for whoever that may be, whether it's Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson, or probably if they're smart, trade it and get more out of it. But yeah, I mean that was an embarrassing loss for the Colts, and I mean it's just like, I don't know. I'm not surprised that that the Colts were not willing to commit to Carson Wentz after the season that he had. I just don't know where they'll get any offers for him, because I mean, as Eagles fans, we saw everything that happened last year, and there were plenty of excuses even for him for why he should want to leave. There's a lot less excuses because Jonathan Taylor is great. You have two good young wide receivers. You have a good defense. You have a strong offensive line. Like, he's just not very good. So I can't imagine what teams are going to offer, but that's for another day. The other losers were the Chargers. We said we'd talk about this game. Jordy, as we all know, is a big Justin Herbert fan. That was a nuts game. I mean,
that was hands down the best game of the season.
By far, unbelievable way to cap off week 18. I just couldn't. The next couple of days, I had been like thinking about the Brandon Staley timeout, and part of me is like, yeah, it was dumb. Part of me was like, he was trying to get the best defense out there. And the other part of me is like, their defense has been terrible all year, so it didn't really matter. You shouldn't have called the timeout. What was your reaction to the game, to the timeout, to everything that went on?
I just think it was so crazy because early on, it kind of felt like the Raiders were running away with it. And I think it was like halfway through the third quarter, I was like, this game is over. The Raiders have won it. You see their players on the sideline screaming, we're in the playoffs. Like, everyone kind of thought they had it wrapped up. And then the Chargers, you see how exhausted they are. And you see just like everyone's just like out of it. And they're dropping balls on first, second, third down. But then for some reason, they're consecutively hitting on 4th and 10, which was mind-boggling to me. And then they start to like rally and they get it back. They get it tied. They get it to overtime. And then with 2 seconds left on the clock, I was under the impression that they were just going to let the clock run out. And I was like, this game's over. They tied it. Like, this is history. And then all of a sudden that freaking timeout. And then you see the Raiders kicker run out there, who has never missed a field goal in their new stadium. He's never missed in a home game. So it's kind of like at that point, it's like, wow, like it was just such a roller coaster. Part of me really wanted the tie just because it would have been historic. But at the end of the day, they're division rivals. I fully understand why the Raiders wouldn't just be like, let's let our opponents in, when like they easily could have won and they did what they had to do to get there. But just absolutely insanity.
James?
I'm the same way. I wanted the tie really bad, especially because I don't like the Steelers at all. And I thought it would have been hilarious to be like, oh, you would think like, oh, okay, Jacksonville pulled out the impossible. Now they can go, and this game's obviously not going to end in a tie, especially with like 6 minutes left and the Raiders are up 15. You're like, yeah, it's not going to end in a tie. But I thought the game should have been over at least 20 different times, with it being 4th down and a mile. Like the touchdown that brought them within 7 on 4th and 21 or something.
Yes.
Like that stuff, that was crazy. And then you had on the ensuing drive, they're backed up at their own like 15-yard line with like 2 minutes to play. And I thought that they should have punted the ball back to Vegas because they had all 3 timeouts and I think it had to hit the 2-minute warning right then. And I'm thinking like, oh, they can just make a quick stop and get the ball back. But they went for it on 4th and 10. And I'm like, if they don't make it, this game's over. And then they converted like, I don't think I have my numbers right here, but like 3 or 4 4th downs.
No, it was insane. They were only converting on 4th downs. I was like, if you guys did this on first or second. I was like, this game would be moving much quicker. And it was just constant. I remember sitting there every time and being like, if they don't get this, the game is over. And I said that like 6 times before it actually hit overtime.
Oh my God. Yeah, same. I was literally like, yeah, there's no way that they're gonna do this, but they kept doing it. And then fittingly enough, touchdown as time expires, they trade field goals. And I remember like the timeout really bothered me because I saw like Carr's reaction. He's like, wait, we can just run another play and get into field goal range. And then at the end of the game, if you watch closely, there's like Austin Eckler's talking to somebody. And the guy was like on the Raiders is like, wow, I can't believe you guys called timeout. We were just going to run the clock out. And then you could just see Eckler roll his eyes like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know if that's the truth or if they're just messing around. But that was something where if that was true and they were just going to run the clock out, like, because who knows? They could have just ran the clock all the way down to 2 seconds and kicked the field goal on 3rd down rather than run another play for the 1st down. But I just think that if that's true, then that's a heartbreaker. And now we have to watch, Ben Roethlisberger in the playoffs again and not see Justin Herbert, doing that. So I was a little disappointed when I found out that the game, and I was surprised that it even had a chance to go into a tie too. That was crazy.
I know.
Yeah, I think that's probably of all the things, the most disappointing is that we had to watch, instead of seeing Justin Herbert, potentially play, I think, Patrick Mahomes, we had to see Ben Roethlisberger in that futile offense where they just dink and they have no chance. And they're going to get crushed. The fact that we had to watch that instead is just kind of disappointing.
It's so Big Ben has been wrapped in bubble wrap for like 2 years now. Every time he hits the ground, you don't know if he's getting back up. I understand the argument. Like this could be, this realistically is, he hasn't officially confirmed, but he's confirmed that he's retiring. It's going to be his last year. So like, I get it. One more go, but like, Dan, like you said, I don't think the Steelers stand a chance against the Chiefs, but who knows? The Colts just lost to Jacksonville. So
the only thing I'll say on the bright side is that for the people that don't like the Steelers, and I'd assume that you guys being in, fans of a Pennsylvania team, you probably have some type of like dislike for Pittsburgh. I will say that Ben Roethlisberger's last game will not be a win, so that's a good thing.
True.
So
I really don't have like any, except for the Penguins, I don't have any like disdain towards the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't,
because we never cross paths in any
opposite conference.
Pittsburgh's like 6 hours away.
Pittsburgh is basically Ohio.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's not even Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's not even.
I actually have because do you remember like this is like NFL history when the Eagles and Steelers? I think it was during one of the wars. They didn't have enough people. Yes, so they were the Steagles. I actually have a Steagles T-shirt.
I used to have a Steagles jersey.
Yeah. Oh, that's even fancier.
The blue and yellow.
That's what that's from. That's what I thought. Because I was like, why would the Eagles ever wear yellow and sky blue? And then and then when I read that stuff, that totally made sense.
Yeah.
I love it.
NFL history right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Steelers were our other winners of the week. But like at the same time, it's kind of like a not great winner because their game was sloppy. They got into the playoffs with just like the most absurd amount of luck. And there's no way they're going to win.
No.
So it's just like,
I would say a better winner for week 18. I would say the 49ers.
That's true.
Because they were winning in, but they were playing the Rams. So that was a tough, that whole situation too, with the all NFC West playing each other at the same exact time. 49ers didn't have to win to get in, but they needed, if they lost, they needed a Saints loss, and the Saints were winning. And then with the Rams losing, if the Cardinals won, the Cardinals could have taken that division, but then the Cardinals couldn't be this. And it was all happening at the same time. I was like, what the heck is going on? But I thought the 49ers win over the Rams was very impressive. And I think that's a great way to send them into the postseason because now they're on this high. The Rams are a very solid team. And now they have to take on the Cowboys. So they can knock out the Cowboys round 1. I would not.
I'm all in on the 49ers beating the Cowboys.
All in on 49ers.
All in. But like not even because I hate the Cowboys, but because I actually think they're going to win.
I really, with the way they've been playing, I really think they can.
I agree. So let's move ahead real quick. We talked about him earlier, Carson Wentz. The other quarterback that's been a hot topic of the past few weeks is Baker Mayfield. And the question is, there's a lot of questions about where they'll be next year, what's going on in both those situations. If you were an odds maker today, just hypothetically, you were an odds maker, which one, and what would you like make the odds to be? Which one would you expect to be on their respective team next season? James, you can start.
I would go with, I'd honestly say Wentz. I know everyone's like, honestly, it's really the lesser of two evils for me, but I would have to say I would say that the Colts would hang on to Wentz because even though the last 2 weeks of the season with the loss to Vegas and the loss to Jacksonville, which again, in my opinion, is still a fluke, I think that the Colts have a future, and I think that Wentz just has to find his rhythm, and he could just turn into Ryan Tannehill. Like Ryan Tannehill's making like $100 million just to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. I mean, he didn't really get to do that much with him being injured half the season, but like literally Ryan Tannehill like doesn't ever throw the ball. He just literally gives it to Henry. He's like, here you go. And then that's the end of that. So Carson Wentz could very well just be like Ryan Tannehill and that just feed Jonathan Taylor the entire time. And then you have Pascal and Pittman that are reliable receivers. And if he has the arm strength and the accuracy, throw it down there every once in a while. So I would say that it's most likely going to be Wentz staying. I don't know why, but I feel like Baker Mayfield is kind of like Johnny Manziel in the fact that it was a good experiment while it lasted, but at some point you just kind of have to cut ties and move on and send him elsewhere, or at least lower him in the depth chart. But I think they get rid of him because there's going to be a team that'll see something in him and they'll give him a lot for him. So
I'm all for a Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield trade, switch them up. But no, and I think going off of what you were saying, I think the Browns are just so sick of looking for a quarterback that's why they give Baker Mayfield so much hype and they're not willing to accept that he's just like average at best. When you look at this team, to me, the Browns roster could be a Super Bowl team if they had a more consistent, stronger quarterback. Because they have the defense, they have so many offensive weapons. You have this double-headed monster with your running backs. Like, they have all the pieces, but I just don't trust Baker Mayfield to get it done. So I would say I agree with what you said about Carson Wentz. I think it's too new for the Colts. I'd say odds. There's a I'd say like -110. I think he's going to stay, but it's not by much. So that would be my thing on Carson Wentz. Baker Mayfield, I'd have it like +450. Like in my mind, Baker Mayfield should be gone. If I was the Browns GM, I would want him out. I don't trust him. Get someone else in there because, like I said, you have this great team. You just need that one piece. Maybe not get rid of him. Maybe like what you were saying, move him, bring in a starter, make him your backup. But I just don't trust Baker Mayfield moving forward.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Jordy. One, I don't think you can just have Baker Mayfield go down on the depth chart.
Exactly.
Solely for a number of reasons. One, like, that'll just create so much off-the-field drama and nonsense with media that it's just not worth it. But, yeah, I'm sort of with you and where I think I would put, like, -150 of Wentz being in Indianapolis. I think they're kind of, like, over him, and I have friends from Indiana that are kind of over him. But at the same time, it's like, they're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah.
They
gave up a lot to get him.
They gave up a lot, but like they didn't have to give up first-round picks. They gave up second and third-round picks. What do you think you're going to get for him this time? Like third and fourth-round picks? Is it really worth it to not have a quarterback? And do you really trust Jacob Eason as your quarterback for next season? So like you're sort of just in a, we'll see if he can bounce back. But yeah, I think if you were to ask me again, which one is staying, I think Wentz has to stay, and Mayfield. We've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yeah.
This is not a Baker Mayfield fan club by any means. This podcast. No. So yeah, we'll see.
Dun, dun,
but in
dun,
terms
dun.
of dun dun dun. In terms of changing sceneries, there have been now 7 job openings, including one today, David Culley leaving Houston, getting fired by Houston. So I think we all know between the Dolphins, Giants, Jags, Houston, Chicago, and Denver, and there's one more. What am I missing? Am I missing one?
Vikings? Did you say Vikings?
The Vikings. All right, so the 7 teams right there. I think we know which one's the best job to take, which is probably Miami, just given the amount of weapons they have and everything going on there. I think we would probably all agree that although Houston adds a new layer to this, that the worst opportunity is probably the Giants. Giants or Houston are probably the two worst for a new head coach to go. But those other ones, those other four in the middle, of those four, which is the Bears, the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Jags, which one do you think is the best spot for, a new coach to go to?
I'm going to have to go Bears because I think it's that perfect medium where there's already enough in place where you kind of have like somewhere to start, but there's also enough room for you to build a team that fits your coaching style and to kind of make it something great. The Vikings, I feel like, are in this weird place where like they have a good roster, but they haven't been run well the last couple of seasons. Like, I just think it could get confusing when you bring someone new in there. Like, is this roster that's good now going to work under somebody else? And the Bears, you have this young quarterback who has potential to be great. I am in the Justin Fields fan club. I think he's going to be exceptional, but he just needs the right guy in there. So I think that's a great way to kind of get in with a young quarterback and build this team up. It's not like the Jags where it's basically a clean slate minus the quarterback. It's a little bit farther along, but I still think Chicago's great.
I'm going to say Jacksonville only because literally the only way is up. Like unless you just get someone with the attitude that Urban Meyer has, like there's really no other way to go but up. And I think that you have Trevor Lawrence, and although I definitely am on the Fields bandwagon, I'm not a fan of Trevor Lawrence, really. I like Justin Fields, and I thought that Justin Fields was going to be better than Lawrence, and I'm somewhat, I guess, right about that, but at least for now. But I definitely think that even though there's not a whole lot to build off of in there's a lot to build off of in Jacksonville, if you develop a team while they're that young, and if you can give them proper guidance by the time like Wentz is out of Indianapolis, and because the Texans are atrocious, and then once the Titans are kind of slow down a little bit, like that, I don't see why Jacksonville couldn't like take it in the next 5 or 6 years. Obviously, if you go to Jacksonville or Houston, it's going to take a lot longer to build a team, but you have a fresh slate. You have, like I said, you're already at rock bottom. You can really only go up. And also, if all else fails, you have the benefits of living in Florida. So even if the team's not going to thrive, you as a person might thrive. But I definitely think that Jacksonville has a lot of potential. And again, getting another first-round pick, having a fresh quarterback, I don't really see why they couldn't make something happen in the next like 3 or 4 seasons. It's going to take time, but it'll work.
Yeah, and I think what you said about their division is very true. Like, this isn't a division where you have like you're not in a situation where it's the Chiefs or in the AFC or in the NFC West where like every team is so good. The Titans are good right now. The Colts are potentially in a weird situation. So like you said, the Jags do have potential in the next couple of years to come in and kind of make a name for themselves. And we saw what they did in 2017, a couple of years. They had this miracle run a couple of years ago. So who knows? But I agree. Jags are a good option.
Yeah. And very much true about the weather. By far the best weather of all the options. Yeah, I was going to say Jacksonville as well, mainly because of a lot of the points that you said, James. But I also think Denver is a great opportunity. If you can just get the right quarterback, you already have, you're in a similar situation, I think, to the Vikings, to the Browns, where the rest of the roster is pretty much, maybe they're not Super Bowl ready, but certainly playoff ready. Obviously you're in the second toughest division, I'd say, just behind the NFC West. But, with the right quarterback, if you somehow get an Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you put him with, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, the great run game, that, young, fiery defense, and just, pad the offensive line a little bit. I mean, you're ready to go. So, if the next head coach, and hopefully it's an offensive head coach for all these teams, because all the other ones besides Jacksonville were defensive coaches, and we saw what happened. So, yeah, I think that all three are good options. The best one, obviously, still Miami, I think, because it's Miami. But, whatever. All right. This weekend, though, that's what we're here for. This weekend, wild card weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great games. It's a really good betting weekend, especially because there are a few sort of upset ready games.
Yeah.
And so, Jordy, why don't you start us off? What is the game/bet of your wild card weekend?
So the game that I'm most excited for this weekend is the Patriots versus the Bills, just because it's a divisional game in the playoffs. They've already played each other twice this season. And it's not even that they just played each other, they split the series. So now you kind of have this like winner takes all vibe. You move on with the playoffs, other teams done. Both of these teams have also had ups and downs this season. Like the Patriots were killing it. And then the last couple weeks of the season didn't look as strong as they had been. And then you had the Bills who had this like weird shaky part in the middle of the season where we didn't know what was going. They didn't look like the Bills, but then towards the end of the season, they were figuring it out and getting it back together. The Bills are 4-point favorites coming into this one. I still think the Bills are going to win. So I like Bills money line, but I really love Patriots +4 just because I think this can easily be a game that comes down to a field goal, especially with the weather conditions that it's going to be. It's the under in this one is a must, but I do think it's going to be very close. I just don't know. Mac Jones made this almost seamless transition from college into the NFL, which was great, but regular season to the playoffs is its own beast. So I think we have to look at that as well. And I just think Josh Allen is much more prepared to handle that. And Bills are at home. So I like Bills money line, but my favorite bet from this would be Patriots +4 because, like I said, low scoring game with the weather. I think it's going to be a field goal game.
What about you, James? What's your game of the weekend?
I'm going with I'm definitely going to go with Cards and Rams because even though the Rams are 4-point favorites, I have to say that the Cardinals, they had their little slip up at the end of the season and even lost to the Rams pretty recently. But the Cardinals have won in LA this year. It's definitely going to be a high scoring game with it being in more or less a dome. So I definitely would take the over. But I think that the Cardinals have it in them, I think, to beat the Rams. It's really all about who's hot. And even though the Rams were hot at the end of the year, and as opposed to the Cardinals that were hot at the beginning of the year, the playoffs have a way of like kind of circling all the way back and kind of starting at clean slates. And I think the Cardinals are going to go in there with a chip on their shoulder. Like, yeah, the Rams beat us the last time. And on top of that, they're going to be like, well, this is literally our season here. And I think that even though Stafford is much better than Kyler Murray, I have to say that I would probably take the Cardinals over the Rams.
I love that.
Love that. I'm going Eagles Bucks, and we said this before the show. I still don't know how the Eagles are 8.5-point underdogs.
It's a crime.
Given how strong their run game is, how hot they've been over the last 2 months, the fact that Tampa Bay's very banged up offensively, the defense has been suspect at times, and it's supposed to be a gross weather game. It's supposed to be like a thunderstorm, basically. Lots of rain, like almost 100% chance of rain, monsoon level stuff. So the under is a guarantee. And I really think the Eagles running game has been so strong. I am going out on the limb. Eagles money line, I don't care what they
love it.
I'm good on the Eagles money line. I'm not usually confident, but especially against Tom Brady, but given the fact that they've been so strong on the ground, even last week against Dallas, they still ran for 150 yards, I think. So their run game is just too strong in this type of conditions. I think that I just believe so strongly in that. That they'll get it done. And it's a revenge game. 2002 NFC Championship game. We don't forget. 20 years later. We don't forget. So
I love it. No, I agree that the 8.5 is beyond rude because the first time we played them this season, we are such a different team now. And we covered this, like we were not a good football team the first time we played or when we played them this season. Now I'd say we're a good football team. I'm not going to say we're great. We still have things to work on, but we're in a rhythm. We've got a routine. We made it into the postseason. We're a solid football team. And like granted, if we do win this game, then we have to take on the Packers, which I have no idea what could happen there. But like, I'm not going to sit here and say Eagles are going on a Super Bowl run, but I think this is a winnable game. Like, I think it's very fair to admit that.
For sure. Yeah, it should be an incredible weekend. Lots of great games to bet on Saturday through Monday night. So I can't wait.
Monday night wildcard weekend. That sounds so
Wildcard
crazy.
weekend, Monday night. And again, don't forget, if you're watching, to use James's UDDA code Gophers. He is a Minnesota Golden Gopher, Big Ten boy like myself, so I respect that. And we appreciate you coming on, James.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is a blast.
Well, we hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll
All
root
right,
for the Bills
enjoy,
for you.
Yes, he's also a Bills fan somehow in Minnesota. So,
well, I was born. I'm more or less a Buffalo kid through and through. So
he's Buffalo, but he's in Minnesota.
He is.
I'll be at the game this weekend, though. Go Bills.
Go Bills. There
so much fun. Dress so warm.
I will.
Bye, James.
See you guys.
What a guy.
Oh, I can't believe he's going to that. That game's going to be worse. I was at the Eagles game Saturday. That game's going to be worse weather-wise. Yeah.
It's going to be freezing cold.
Oh, my God. I would bring a personal heater with me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, considering they don't even allow purses in, I don't know how fond they'd be of that, but I would try.
All right. Also this weekend, we have plenty of great contests. Some including all 3 teams that are involved in our on-brand contest, Philly, Pittsburgh, and Dallas. So what is your favorite contest for this weekend?
All right. So biasly, obviously, I love the Eagles pick 6, but other than that, I love the NFL pick 6 gridiron games. It's winnable for the chance you enter for free. You can win real cash. And it's all fun stuff. So, and it's covering like all wild card weekend, just gets you in the vibe, gets you a little bit more motivated, especially for games if your teams didn't make the playoffs or if your team isn't playing on one of the 3 days, because now we have a much longer span for wild card weekend. But yeah, no, there's a lot of fun stuff being offered.
Yeah, I like the Eagles pick 6, and I'm gonna do all the pick 6s that we have. We have an Eagles pick 6, we have a Steelers pick 6, and we have a Cowboys pick 6. I'm gonna do all of them because I want to see how well I do. So I'm gonna do that. I know Jordy's gonna do some of that.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure if you download the UDDA app and get into the contest tab to join all of our contests for this weekend. Transitioning now to the NBA. Lots going on in the NBA in this month of January. Russell Westbrook is absolutely atrocious. The Lakers are very mediocre.
Klay Thompson's back,
which is awesome. And they are a force to be reckoned with when he's 100% healthy, because I'm sure he's still probably like 85%.
Yeah. But still at 85% playing unreal.
Yeah. But the team of the past month, not even just January into December, is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Absolutely.
They are scorching hot. Ja Morant is blossoming into a super duper star. So we're going to do hot or not. Grizzlies, hot or not?
I'm saying the Grizzlies are beyond hot. We've seen what they're doing. They're beating real teams. They have the depth, and their coach has just kind of completely turned this around. So I'm all in on the Grizzlies because, like I said, it's not like they're just kind of skating their way by. Like, they're beating teams where it's like, can they beat them? And then they do. It's just I keep taking Grizzlies money line, and there are people that are like so on the fence about it, and it keeps hitting. Like, they're getting it done. So I don't think we can take away from what they've accomplished.
Yeah, I took the Warriors against them the other night.
Should have listened to me.
I should have. That was my bet. I really thought, like, all right, the Warriors are gonna put this thing to an end. It would have been great. But not to be. Nonetheless, though, I'm in on the Grizzlies. I was a big fan of them back in their Zach Randolph, early Mike Conley, getting to the Western Conference in 2014, I think, 2012. whatever year that was, a long time ago, and it all collapsed, and now they're getting back into it, and it's good for Memphis. They're a small market. You like when the small markets do well, and they're all the rage right now. I am with you. They are red hot. I'm in, and I'm in on Ja Morant for MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Call it now. I think he's plus 2,000. Put your money in, and let's make some money off of Ja Morant. But the Grizzlies 4th in the West, so good for them.
Yeah.
Having a great month. Let's see if they can hold on to it throughout the rest of the regular season a little bit. Also, hot or not, Ben Simmons and the 76ers, before the trade deadline in almost exactly a month, hot or not, Ben Simmons gets traded. And to where if he gets traded?
I'm saying hot. I want it done more than anything. And I think where he goes depends on what kind of deal we can cook up. I'm really liking him to the Celtics. I think we could get some good pieces back from that. I'm also not opposed at all to pairing up Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris and sending them somewhere and getting a power forward back. Just because Tobias has been very understellar over the last couple of weeks, to put it like nicely. I'm ready to punch him in the face if we're being honest. But yeah, no, I think pair the two up. I think the package deal of them, I think we can get something really good for. So I'm all for it. Get him out of here.
Yeah, I would love to get them both out, but I don't think it's possible. I just don't see one unless it becomes like a 4-team trade where like Tobias goes one place, Ben goes to another. Because there's just no way a team's taking on $80 million of Ben Simmons who doesn't shoot and Tobias Harris who is extremely underwhelming.
It's been so bad.
There's no way a team. There's no team that would be dumb enough to do that.
Why did we pay Tobias so much money?
I don't know. In terms of hot or not, do I think my brain says not, because I feel like Daryl Morey's been really stubborn about what he wants and isn't going to get what he wants. But my heart says, and given the fact that I believe in where there's smoke, there's fire, given the fact that there's seems to be enough buzz, and maybe with the trade deadline being a month away, like, and the Sixers sort of just floating around in that lower tier of the playoffs right now, especially for a late playoff push, I'm going to say hot because I think Daryl Morey will finally pull the trigger. And the fact that Atlanta says everyone but Trae Young and someone else everyone else is free to be least discussed. And the Kings seem to be very motivated to make a move. I think it'll happen. Again, just because it seems like where there's smoke, there's fire. Same thing with the Celtics. I'd love to have Jaylen Brown. Because I think he would be perfect. Ben
Simmons doesn't shoot at all. He shoots too much. I would happily take it.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to say hot, but it's like a simmering hot.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not fully into it.
Did you see that Rich Paul was sitting courtside at the Sixers game the other day? Yeah. And I was like, honey, can you call your client and figure something out instead of sitting courtside at our game?
I love the notification that I got that said Rich Paul and Sixers sat down. Nothing happened. I was like, what? This
great. Thank you. We know. It's
clear.
I'm just praying that sometime in the next month I wake up to a notification that's like Ben Simmons has been I will run out and get champagne and pop champagne. I will be so happy. Or if he just starts, it's not like I'm going to completely blacklist Ben Simmons. Like if he comes back and starts playing and is trying and you see a change, I will welcome. Like all he has to do is apologize and try, and he's not going to. He's not going to.
You know, none of that is. You need to wake up from your dream right now, because that's never going to happen.
I know.
Never going to happen. We'll see. Speaking of things that may never happen either.
Oh, that was a beautiful segue.
It's why they pay me the big bucks. We don't know if there's going to be an MLB season.
No.
February 14th, pitchers and catchers are supposed to attend spring training for the first time. They met today, Players Association and the MLB.
Nothing.
No movement. The MLB offered something. The players were like, nah, we're good. It's sort of COVID all over again in a sense, but not the same. A month to go until pitchers and catchers. What is your, from 0 to 100%, what is your percentage of belief that something will get done in time? And that we even have a baseball season?
Yeah, I'm saying like there's a 25% chance we get pitchers and catchers. Like I'm very, especially after today where like nothing was really able to get done. It's a month away. I just don't think, I think we'll get more of a vibe like the week before. Like if they can, when they're like realizing how close it actually is, potentially. But as of right now, I'm saying the chances are very, very slim.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you. Conference championship weekend of the NFL. That's when we'll have an idea of like, if this thing's close, then it's going to happen.
So much cooking.
Right. If 2 weeks from February 14th, which is again Valentine's Day, actually. So very ironic that there's going to be heartbreak if there's not going to be an MLB season. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to say if by the last weekend of January, if there's no murmurings of something happening, we're not getting pitchers and catchers at least on time. I don't know if it'll 100% mean that we're not going to get it, but we're certainly not going to get it on time.
Yeah.
And again, I've been on the train of baseball is going down the slow and painful death, and people have disagreed on that. This is another example. This is another example of
the NFL would never let this happen.
No,
like never. The NFL would just never be like, you know what? We're on a lockdown. We're not going to start. The NFL has a COVID outbreak, and they still do whatever they can to make it happen. The MLB is like, no, we're good. We'll play. Maybe not. We'll see what happens.
Baseball is a stubborn old grandmother. That's just like stuck in 1960 and just like can't get out. That's what it is. They just can't get out of their way. Like when I say that baseball's dying, people are like, no, it's not. Look at the numbers. I'm like, I didn't say it's like dying tomorrow. I said and it doesn't even no one even has to try. It just does it to itself because of this crap.
Exactly. Because there are people like me, like who pay attention to the MLB and like know what's going on, but I don't sit and watch like the NBA. I watch as much as I can, which is hard to do. Baseball, it's kind of like when it's on, I'm paying attention. I have 1 year. I like going to games. Like I like the vibe at the stadium, but it's really hard to sit and watch a whole baseball game for me with someone who never played or fully understands all of the things that go into it.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people are now in that boat. And so if you're just going to be like, you know what, people are going to forget. People that are not already invested in baseball are going to be like, okay. And then when it comes back on, they're not going to be gung-ho to freaking sit down and watch it, and they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. No, if baseball does not figure out, the MLB does not figure out a way to play a season, and they just go all summer without baseball, without the MLB, it's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be absolutely brutal for them because you can't do that. I mean, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. But month away.
We'll see what happens. Let the countdown begin.
Valentine's Day, pitchers and catchers are there. We'll have a good spring.
I said to my friends, because the Super Bowl's February 13th, and I said to all my friends who are not big football people, and I was like, I wish that the Super Bowl, like I wish Valentine's Day was Sunday and the Super Bowl would be on Valentine's Day, because I would love to see what it does to relationships where guys are like, sorry, we can't go to dinner. We have to watch the Super Bowl.
And then you broke up.
Yeah, I would just, and my friends were like, that's terrible. And I was like, I'm sorry. As a single person that likes football, that would be hysterical. I would just sit back and let the chaos unfold, and it would be so funny.
Or like, what if like you're like in a situation where you started talking to somebody for like a month or so, and like you bring them to that football party the day before Valentine's Day? Does that make them official?
Honestly, I mean, it's that close. I think you can make the argument. So even though it's not on, you're right. Even though it's not on Valentine's Day, it's still gonna, because then it's like, okay, well, I spent the Super Bowl with you. So are we spending Valentine's Day tomorrow? Are you giving me flowers? Oh my God, this is going to be so fun.
We kissed during the trophy presentation.
Yes. So does that mean we're officially a couple now?
Exactly. We'll see. We need to do some deep digging on that information.
We do. I need to find some couple drama regarding the Super Bowl the day before Valentine's Day.
100%. But we're not going to get into that Super Bowl stuff for a while. Wild card weekend. I can't wait. I know Jordy can't wait. Make sure if you haven't already to follow us on all our socials at UDDA_winner on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yes.
I didn't know which one I said. Make sure you download the UDDA app as well, and we will catch you next week.
Bye.